All right.
Welcome, everybody. We all know about the tweet yesterday that was tweeted by KZ last night. And now we have a motion filed in case number C5CP381 to Honorable Judge Sikowitz. Dependent appeals motion to stay appeal and remand for petitioner to file a supplement post-conviction motion disclosing new evidence of a Brady violation and a third-party Denny suspect. So, Jeff's going to be reading this for us.
Yeah, so maybe the first thing that we should talk about, Millbilly, is what that title means. For those of you, I wish, Travis wasn't available on request, and I don't think we could afford his retainer for today, but I'm sure we'll get him on. But to me, what this means, I think we know in the state of Wisconsin that you literally can't have two motions going at once. And the reason they do that is it's a good reason, actually, and that reason is so any one person can't just flood the entire court system with motion after motion after motion and bring everything to a screeching halt. So therefore, there's a rule that can only have one motion going at a time. Mm-hmm. So this motion, the first thing in the first sentence that this says is defendant appellant's motion to stay the appeal. That means that she wants the current appeal stopped, right? She has that current one to the three-judge panel. She's like, nope. Yep. Nix that. I want to stop that now, and I'm glad because I need to put in. I want to amend that motion, and to do that, it's going to go all the way back to our favorite judge in Wisconsin, Judge Angela Fatass Sikowitz, and because that's why this is to her. So this is for stay and remand for the petitioner to file a supplemental post-conviction motion. So she wants to supplement the existing motion, and she wants to add a Brady violation and a Denny suspect based on this affidavit that she's going to describe, and then we'll read. So that's what all that title means. But we've already been asked, does this mean she's putting the current one down? And so she must be taking this very seriously, and we're going to get to the fact that, it says right in this first paragraph that this is, April 11th. Somebody, she signed his affidavit. This guy, Thomas Sawinski, signed his affidavit then. I would hope that she's been giving him a little bit deeper review than just one day. But I'm sure we're going to hear about this later. So with that, I'm going to start reading it unless there's any questions.
Nope.
All right, you guys are all smart guys. That's why. And sorry about that. I didn't mean that like that.
Or their mics were off.
Okay. The defendant appellant, Stephen Avery, Mr. Avery, by his undersigned attorneys, Kathleen T. Zellner and Stephen G. Richards, hereby moves this court to stay this appeal and remand for Mr. Avery to supplement his post-conviction motion with a new witness affidavit establishing a Brady violation and a third-party Denny suspect. In support of said motion, Mr. Avery states as follows. With regard to the Brady violation, 1, on April 11, 2021, and for those of you who may be viewing this later, today is April 12, 2021, so this is yesterday. A new witness, Mr. Thomas Sawinski, came forward to Mr. Avery's current post-conviction counsel and attested to the following. Mr. Sawinski was a motor route driver for Gannett Newspapers, Incorporated, and delivered papers to the Avery salvage yard in the early morning hours of November 5th, 2005. Prior to delivering the newspapers to the Avery salvage yard, he turned onto the Avery property and witnessed two individuals, a shirtless Bobby Dassey, Bobby, and an unidentified older male suspiciously pushing a dark blue RAV4 down Avery Road towards the junkyard. Where is Kelly when you need her to talk about whether it's blue or green?
Blue or green?
The RAV did not have its lights on. After Mr. Sawinski drove by Bobby and the other individual and delivered the papers to the Avery mailbox, he turned around and drove back towards the exit. When he reached the RAV4, Bobby attempted to step in front of his car to block him from leaving the property. Mr. Sawinski was within 5 feet of Bobby, and his headlights were on Bobby during the entire time. Mr. Sawinski swerved into a shallow ditch to escape Bobby and exit the property. After Mr. Sawinski learned that Teresa Hallback's car was found later in the day, on November 5th, 2005, he realized the significance of what he had observed and immediately contacted the Manitowoc Sheriff's Office and spoke to a female officer, reporting everything he had stated in his affidavit. The officer said, "We already know who did it." I know you don't believe that, Mill, believe it. That's what he says they said. Mr. Sawinski provided his phone number and was told that the Manitowoc Sheriff's Office would contact him, but it never did. Attached and incorporated herein, Group Exhibit 1, is Mr. Sawinski's affidavit and a photograph he marked of the location of the RAV4, where they saw it being pushed. And we'll put that picture up in a minute. Number 2, Bobby was the state's primary witness against Mr. Avery at his trial. During his opening statement, Prosecutor Kratz explicitly informed the jury of the significance of Bobby's putative observations on the date of Miss Hallback's disappearance. And she quotes, "You're going to hear that Bobby Dassey was the last person, the last citizen that will have seen Teresa Hallback alive." Number 3, at trial, Bobby testified that he observed Miss Hallback's vehicle pull up his driveway at 2:30 p.m. on October 31st, 2005. Bobby then observed Miss Hallback exit her vehicle and start taking pictures of his mom's maroon van right in front of his trailer. Bobby testified that he then observed Miss Hallback walking towards the door of Mr. Avery's trailer. The following exchange occurred between Prosecutor Kratz and Bobby. Question: after seeing this woman walking toward your Uncle Stephen's trailer, did you ever see this woman again? Answer: no. Number 4, Bobby then testified that he took a 3 or 4 minute shower and then left his trailer to go hunting. Bobby walked to his Chevy Blazer, which was parked between the trailer and the garage. Bobby testified that as he walked to his vehicle, he observed Miss Hallback's vehicle still parked in the driveway. Bobby further testified that he did not see Miss Hallback or any signs of her. Bobby testified that when he returned to his trailer around 5-ish, Miss Hallback's vehicle was gone. During his closing argument, number 5, during his closing argument, Prosecutor Kratz once again emphasized the importance of Bobby's testimony and vouched for his credibility. We talked more about the timeline, and we heard from Bobby Dassey again in the same kind of a position to be his credibility to be weighed by you, but as an eyewitness. Again, an eyewitness without any bias. It is an individual that deserves to be given a lot of credit, because sometime between 2:30 and 2:45, he sees Teresa Hallback. He sees her taking photographs. He sees her finishing the photo shoot, and he sees her walking up towards Uncle Stephen's trailer. Number 6, to establish a Brady violation, a defendant must demonstrate that 1, the prosecution suppressed evidence, 2, the evidence was favorable to the defense, and 3, the evidence was material to an issue at trial. That's according to State versus Harris. This court reviews de novo whether the facts of a case establish a Brady violation. State versus Roquette. There can be a due process violation irrespective of the good faith or bad faith of the prosecution. Quoting Brady versus Maryland, the prosecution's duty to disclose evidence favorable to the accused includes the duty to disclose impeachment evidence as well as exculpatory evidence. Citing Strickler, case Strickler 527 U.S. at 280. Number 7, the state suppressed the evidence of Mr. Sawinski's report to the Manitowoc Sheriff's Office that he had witnessed Bobby and another individual in possession of and moving Miss Hallback's vehicle onto the Avery salvage yard after Miss Hallback's disappearance and prior to her vehicle's discovery. The suppressed evidence from Mr. Sawinski was favorable to the defense and material to the pivotal issue in trial because it would have, 1, destroyed entirely the credibility of Bobby as the state's primary witness, 2, established that Bobby was directly involved in the murder of Miss Hallback, and 3, established that Bobby planted evidence to frame his uncle, Mr. Avery. So item 8, in Kyles versus Whitney, the court noted, the question is not whether the defendant would be more likely than not to have received a different verdict with the evidence, but whether in its absence he received a fair trial, understood as a trial resulting in a verdict worthy of confidence. A reasonable probability is lower than a preponderance of the evidence standard. It is demonstrated where the defense shows that the failure undermined confidence in the conviction in Youngblood versus West Virginia. So in case nobody understood what I said, what she's saying is that this Brady violation is actually the way that she's reading this law. It's not even that that the standard shouldn't even be that it would have changed the verdict. It's that without this, did you get a fair trial, which is actually a lower standard than she's been citing before, I think. Number 9, in the absence of the suppressed evidence presented in Mr. Lewinsky's affidavit, Mr. Avery did not receive a fair trial. Mr. Avery had a constitutionally guaranteed right to present a complete defense to the charges against him. Holmes versus South Carolina, State versus Pulizano, citing Chambers versus Mississippi, Mr. Avery was deprived of his constitutional right to present a complete defense because of this Brady violation committed by the state. Number 10, additionally, the Selinsky affidavit greatly strengthens Mr. Avery's third-party Denny claim because the Selinsky affidavit directly connects Bobby to the crime charged. See State versus Denny. Conclusion. Wherefore, undersigned counsel respectfully requests that this court enter an order staying this appeal and remanding the cause to the circuit court to permit Mr. Avery to pursue a supplemental post-conviction motion in connection with Mr. Avery's discovery of previously suppressed evidence by the state, dated this 12th day of April 2021. Respectfully submitted, Kathleen Zellner. Okay, and then I'm going to go past the certificate of service to the actual affidavit, which starts on page 8 and is from, which is again to case number 05 CF 381 to Judge Flowers, and this is the start of the affidavit item 1. I am of legal majority and can truthfully and competently testify to the matters contained herein based upon my personal knowledge. The factual statements herein are true and correct to the best of my knowledge, information, and belief. I am of sound mind and am not taking any medication, nor have I ingested any alcohol that would impair my memory of the facts stated in this affidavit. That's not always the case when I read these things, but it's the case for me right now. I have not started the alcohol yet today. I resided in Manitowoc, Wisconsin for over 20 years.
Wait a minute, it's about 5:30 somewhere, Jeff. So
it is. I might have to get something, but after I get done reading. I resided in Manitowoc, Wisconsin for over 20 years. In 2005, I was employed as a motor route driver at Gannett Newspapers Incorporated and delivered papers in and around the Avery Salvage Yard. While delivering papers, I drove my personal car, which was a tannish gold, Mystic Teal Tannish Gold four-door sedan. I cannot recall the make and model of the car at this time. On early Saturday, November 5th, 2005, I was delivering papers to the Avery Auto Salvage Yard in the early morning hours before sunrise. I drove down Highway 147, and I turned left onto Avery Road. Soon after I turned onto Avery Road, I witnessed an individual who I later realized was Bobby Dassey, and another unidentified older male pushing a dark blue RAV4 down Avery Road on the right side towards the junkyard. Bobby Dassey was shirtless, even though it was early November. The second man appeared to be in his 50s or early 60s, had a long gray beard, was wearing a worn puffy jacket, had a larger frame, and was around 6 feet in height. The RAV4 did not have its lights on. Attached and incorporated herein as Exhibit A are photographs where I marked where I saw the RAV4. I drove down Avery Road towards the mailboxes, left the Herald Times in the mailbox, and turned back around. I felt very afraid as I approached the two individuals because Bobby Dassey attempted to step in front of my car, blocking my exit. I was within 5 feet of Bobby Dassey, and my headlights were on the entire time. The older man ducked down behind the open passenger door, not wanting to be seen, obviously. I swerved to the right and down into a shallow ditch to avoid hitting Bobby Dassey. I called out, "Paperboy, gotta go," because I was afraid for my safety. That's what I do when I'm afraid for my safety, as I yell out, "Paperboy, gotta go."
I'm gonna try that the next time I'm scared.
Bobby Dassey looked me in the eye, and I could tell, I could tell with the look in his eyes that he was not happy to see me there. I knew that Bobby Dassey and the older individual were doing something creepy. Item 6. After I learned that Teresa Hallback's car was found on November 5th, 2005, I contacted the Manitowoc Sheriff's Office and spoke to a female officer. I reported everything I have stated in this affidavit to the officer. The officer said, "We already know who did it." I know that's shocking again, the second time you hear it. Just as shocking as the first time. I provided my phone number, and they said they would contact me soon. I've never heard back from the police. After watching season 1 of Making a Murder, I contacted Avery's trial attorneys to inform them of what I saw. Never heard back. Item 8, nothing has been promised or given to me in exchange for this affidavit. We do know there's a $100,000 reward. He doesn't mention that. I'm not sure that I would mention that either. This was signed. Notably, this was signed on the 10th day of April, 2021. Again, today's the 12th, so it was signed 2 days ago. I imagine that she has been, she meaning Kathleen Zellner, has been investigating this for a lot longer. But I'm sure that there is sort of a rush to get this out because she's had judges rule on her before she was actually ready to do stuff. And the rest of this nonsense is just the notary public stuff and who he is and when his thing expires. And then there's the picture. You can see in that picture 147 sort of moving from the middle left of the picture down to the bottom right of the picture. And then, that road that goes almost straight up and down, but it's tilted a little bit to the right, is Avery Road. And that black X is where he marked that he saw Bobby, who he claims is Bobby, and whoever else pushing the RAV4 towards the junkyard, basically. Now, I think maybe Millville, you can point out a few things on this photo, like where the mailboxes are, where the RAV was found, etc.
Well, the mailboxes, if you can see my...
Yeah, we can see it.
Mailboxes were located right here. This would be Dolores' house. This is the outbuilding. Well, I got a better photo.
The first thing that when Big Jeff and Justin and I were talking is the first thing I probably would have done getting this information, especially because of that photo, is I would have verified that somebody had a subscription to the newspaper at the Averys.
Well, there are mailboxes down in, so
right, but I would have verified that
I'm pretty sure Zellner probably did.
That gave him a reason to be there, because it would have bolstered Kathleen's case, proving that they actually had a subscription, so that guy actually would have been on Avery Road.
Yeah. Now we don't know what she did, but I hope she did that. That would be a smart thing for her to have done. There's a lot of things that are striking about this. Oh, you know what, Mil, you're calling up that other picture? Yeah. So I guess we can continue to talk. There's a lot of things that are striking in that affidavit. Why in the world are they pushing the car as opposed to driving it? I mean, they're auto mechanics. They know how to work a car. I seem to even recall that Stephen even had an affidavit at one point that he said that he had asked Bobby to throw a battery in Barb's maroon van one morning, or that morning even. So it's not like Bobby was without the knowledge of how to put a battery in a car or analyze it. Why isn't this car started? And presumably, if he was in on it, and we don't know whether he is or isn't. This is he has a presumption of innocence. If he was in on it, then why does he not know there's no battery in it? Why do they have the car lights off? He's probably aware of the fact that Stephen has already left. Actually, Stephen has not left for Cribbets yet.
Correct.
If it's early in the morning. So he's taking an awful chance pushing that car down Avery Road. He's probably aware because I think Brian and Ma went with Stephen and his Grand Am, right, Millbilly?
That's correct.
And they left early. They left early.
The only people on the property were Ma Avery, Stephen Avery, Brian Dassey, and obviously Bobby would have been at home.
Yep. And Chuck, whose house is, so why did they have the lights off? I can see maybe he wasn't aware that Chuck and Brendan went to Cribbets the night before.
Chuck left, so that takes him out the equation.
Yeah, so why turn off the light? Why are you pushing it? Because you don't want somebody to hear. Who are you afraid of not hearing? It must be Ma Avery, right?
Yeah, but Earl don't have a beard.
No, no.
So
No, I'm still on the pushing it fact. And why did they turn it off? Why do they have the lights off, and why were they pushing it? Because they didn't want somebody to hear them, and they might not have been aware of Chuck. They might have been afraid Ma Avery might have seen him, and thought they could get by her. They certainly didn't push it all the way to the spot where they found the RAV, because that's a long way. We know that on the 5th, the morning of the 5th, when Earl lets Pam in, that he doesn't want her to drive because somebody got stuck yesterday, right? Somebody got stuck on the 4th, pulling stuff in.
mm-hmm.
So it doesn't seem like the pit is in good condition to be pushing a car through it. You think that maybe they just needed to get it past a certain point before they started it back up, or if it was at the turnaround, presumably.
The question is, where are they pushing it from?
Yeah, the turnaround, or did they bring it all the way to Avery Road and then push it in Avery Road because they were worried about alerting somebody? Or it's just hard to believe that they were, had pushed it all the way from the turnaround. That's
I don't
that's
know.
a little. I don't know. This guy.
And then we end up with that battery in there. I mean, the battery that obviously doesn't go to the RAV when it's found, and they actually take it into the crime lab. So, I mean, that battery was obviously in there.
Yep. But Zellner states that she can prove that battery came from a Manitowoc Fleet vehicle. So, I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know what nonsense they did to the RAV when they had it topped off, right? Did they drive it onto the tow truck, or did they pull it? Did they winch it in the tow truck?
They called Rabas Towing to remove it from the spot, and then they pushed it into a trailer with the tow truck. But they also called a wrecker too. So because Earl states that they removed it with Rabas's new record.
But they put it in a box. How do you get it into the box? I guess that's
well. Every record has the ability to tow something on the back of it too, so they could use the claws, whatever you want to call them, to lift it up and roll it into the
box
trailer.
And how did they get it off?
Probably the same way.
But it was in the crime lab, right?
Yeah.
So
you think they'd have videos of all this stuff?
Yeah, they don't even have a picture of Stephen's blood stain before it got swabbed. The only picture that I've ever seen is the Q-tip picture, right?
Correct.
And they're telling us that's they must have forgot or something.
Well, it's obvious they didn't process the car very well because there's still a hair hanging out the air vent on the driver's side. Justin has pointed out to me what appears to be blood in different areas of the vehicle, like the door frame, the rear passenger, tailgate. So, who knows?
So, here we go. We've got this. We don't have any date recognition in there as to when he says he contacted the police department in the first place, right?
Well,
so
we don't have all of Manitowoc's audio. That's the problem, and this is why.
Right.
This is exactly why. We got the guy from Tuma Lake that calls Manitowoc, gives him the information. He's not happy, so then he calls Calumet because he doesn't trust Manitowoc Police Department, or Sheriff's Department, I should say. Two different entities. But yeah.
So what he says in that is that after I learned that Teresa Hallback's car was found on November 5th, 2005, I contacted MTSO. So I imagine that couldn't have been, you know, it doesn't sound like it was that day or the next day, but I imagine it was within a reasonable amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
So
why would he call MTSO if Calumet was in charge?
Because he lives in Manitowoc.
Okay.
Why were other people? And not to mention, it was in the paper. They displayed the Manitowoc Sheriff's Department number for calls. The thing is, though, there's 3 numbers listed. There's the 4201, 4202, and in the paper they put the 4200 number. We don't have any phone calls for that line whatsoever. No phone calls at all for the 4th whatsoever. No transmissions whatsoever for the 4th. The problem is Jerry Buting, when cross-examining Remaker, he slipped up and mentioned that he reviewed audio before testifying in the pretrial, which then Jerry Buting requested all that audio that he reviewed to be brought to the court. If he would have asked for all the audio in full for the 9 days, things may be different. None of the audio is timestamped for Manitowoc whatsoever. So, yeah.
Right.
Manitowoc edited the audio, Calumet edited the video.
So someone had suggested that the only person they can think of that had a beard and could have been in his 50s would have been Alan. But I don't think that. I think that
Alan wasn't there. He was in Crivets.
Yeah, he was in Crivets.
He left Thursday.
I seem to recall that there was a even a sort of a drunken Alan episode on Friday night, if I'm not mistaken, right? Because the cop showed up and he came out all shit-faced and said, "Get off my property."
No, that was in Marinette. That was Saturday when they showed up on the property.
Oh, that was Saturday. Okay, that wasn't Friday.
No, because Alan left for Crivets on Thursday.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I knew he was up there, but if the cops actually reported seeing him on Friday night, that would be like a double alibi, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm struggling to. I mean, other than Tom Pierce, I'm not remembering anybody really that stands out with a beard.
I know who has a beard.
Who has a beard? No, Billy. Besides you.
You know who.
No, we don't.
Well, Chuck has a beard. He left. Scott, he has a beard. Mike O, he has a beard.
But they said a long beard, right?
Long gray beard. Yeah.
It's also dark out. So
large frame, 6 feet tall.
Robert Fagan.
Yeah, is Chuck 6 feet tall?
No.
No.
I mean, the only one I could think of that is that tall was Earl.
Earl doesn't have a beard.
I know, but he's
And
the only
Earl
one I could think
is
of that was
not-
that tall. Or Mike.
Ding ding ding.
Yeah, I can see how, you know, if he was blonde and how blonde could have been mistaken for gray.
Great. Yeah.
Okay, something's just coming to my mind, and I'm probably totally off on the dates. But what was the date when Barb had to call Bobby over at Mike's?
That was on the 9th.
Okay. That doesn't do me any good then, because I'm trying to think if he was at Mike's, that explains, and if he was sleeping.
I don't know. According to Barb, Bobby spent more of his time at Mike's house than the other way around, but who really knows?
Yeah. Well, she says in one of the phone calls that she just wants her kids to come home, and the kid, you know, including Bobby, was spending an inordinate amount of time, even more than usual, over Mike's, and she hadn't seen him for weeks. So, and that's confirmed by what she says in the jail call.
Yep.
So now,
T1 just asked if Tom Yonda had a beard.
Not a long beard. All the photos I've had seen of him, he had basically shorter hair than mine. So
Is that possible?
facial hair.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, one thing I'm comfortable saying is that Kathleen Zellner is a very serious person, and I gotta believe that she did at least some due diligence before she submitted this.
Well,
Yeah.
if she received her affidavit on the 10th and now it's the 12th, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that's when he signed it.
Well,
That's the
yeah,
thing.
so who knows when he actually did contact her initially.
Contact her. Yeah. And that could have been going on. And on the other hand, you can see why it's a rush too, because you don't necessarily want this this 3-judge panel to say you're barred on procedural grounds.
Thankful for COVID, because who knows if he would have came forward. Who knows if
Yeah.
he came forward because of that reward.
Yeah, that's what worries me. That's when we were talking earlier, I was worried that it was some crackpot who just wants to get out on the reward.
Well,
It's a little more credible than
You'd only get the
Right.
money if somebody else is convicted for the murder of her. So
Zellner just tweeted again.
What did she tweet, Jeff?
I think it's just she retweeted somebody who had an article that said Zellner drops big bomb. I think that's what it is.
Oh, okay. Well, this has to be really hard for the family right now.
It does, yeah.
I mean, we've seen Barb come and say that, Kathleen has spoken to Bobby, and
you said that in
I
a
guess-
chat somewhere.
Huh?
You said that in a chat room somewhere.
yeah, and that Bobby wasn't, at least Barb didn't feel that Bobby was a suspect, that it was Ryan.
You know what? One thing that always strikes me is how much Mike O and Bobby resemble each other.
Yeah.
Those two look a lot alike, whenever we have theories that involve one, we usually put them both together. It's quite possible
Well,
that
Like I said, in Zellner's recreation of her, what she thinks took place on the day of the 31st, she's got 2 people on Cuss Road burying the body, not one.
that one. Yeah.
What was that?
Oh, that was my phone.
Your phone. Yeah. I'd report that to Verizon right away.
I still have it set up from deer hunting last fall, so
Just a dunny, I'm telling you.
you know,
So what are we thinking is going to happen here? Are we thinking that she's going to get this stay, or are they going to? I mean, what are the possibilities? I guess we don't have Travis here to tell us what the possibilities are, but
Yeah. I'm not sure that she can reject it per se the stay. I think she might have to be granted the stay. Like, and I think Sukowitz will be happy to say, return to home square.
Yeah.
I think that's an easy one. Then she can just write something up that says, this guy has no credibility, you're procedurally barred. So I see it back to the 3-judge panel, I guess. Well, she could sit on it for a year, I guess, if she wants to. This is what you're right with that. We do need Travis. So I kind of see her having to rule on this sort of in a short amount of time, because I don't think that the higher court, knowing that this is pending, will rule now that this has been filed.
Mm-hmm.
And
well,
that's
and
just-
then if she denies it, then Kathleen has to I'm asking this. So then Kathleen has to file an appeal and go up to the higher court with it.
Yes, and I think she's basically asking for the court's permission to start over and to amend the original motion with these new with these new things that the Denny and Brady violations. So she's asking to update her brief. So I suppose it's possible that Sukowitz could rule favorably on that brief, but
Sherlock Holmes asks, do you think that the truthers will accept this and finally see what was always in front of their eyes?
That's an easy one, Sherlock. No. Because the truthers have already made up their mind. And I think if you've heard anything, you've heard, some hint of skepticism on the part of this panel, that says, okay, well, we don't know if this guy, we want to know legitimately, is this guy, is he looking at it like he could use an extra $100,000 and, there's no way nobody's going to be able to prove this otherwise. We don't know that. So we want the truth, and the truthers have already made up their mind.
Anthony Hill says gray beard and 50. Well, I can attest to that. My bio hair would be white, and I'm just in my 50s. So, yeah,
hey,
you're
I just turned 40 and I got gray hair. So,
look, I'm only 24, and I have. You guys might have noticed.
I'm only in my 30s, and I'm grayer than all hell.
That's because you're just a Denny suspect.
Right? I do have a question. Do you guys think she's been able to verify this phone call to the sheriff's department?
I don't see how.
Well, with his records, with his phone records, maybe.
You think
If he's got them?
You think he saved them? Really? It's not like Ramlo saving texts when he sent to Scott.
No, but I think that's if he's had like the same if he has a carrier that's still up like AT&T or Verizon and he's had that since then, then it's possible that if with a court with a subpoena from a lawyer they'll go back.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
you are the phone guy, so.
Zellner. Don't forget that Zellner subpoenaed Ryan's phone records after the fact, right? And that's how we knew about the drop calls. Ryan's phone records. Ryan was never treated as a suspect, and his phone records were never subpoenaed. And she got them in 2016, I think.
Something like that.
So yeah, they are potentially available. I mean, the computer, it takes work to delete things, right? So that's why the phone people still have stuff hanging around for a while. It's hard to sometimes say how accurate it is. I'd love to see a certain AC's phone records for November 3rd. I don't know why I can't.
November 4th too.
P1 says, who would be willing to help Bobby push a vehicle early in the morning?
Okay.
Family, parent, friend, or co-worker?
How does Ryan get the day planner then?
Maybe Teresa made it home.
You know what he's going for, Jeff? That 2 RAV theory.
The 2 RAV.
He's going after the 2 RAV.
This puts a little monkey wrench in the 2 RAV theory. But
it does.
But
I mean, the only person I could think he'd even trust with something like that is Mike O.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was dark. He's wearing a beat up old jacket.
Mike is definitely 6 foot or more.
Big frame. I imagine that some mornings I get up after some drinking and I probably look like I'm 80 something. So I can see how Mike might have looked 50. But it was cold. Bobby didn't have a shirt on, and this guy was wearing a jacket, though.
Well, if you guys watch my very first video I've ever made, I think I'm right.
Well, recap it for those who are new to the case, Billy.
It's only 3 minutes long. I basically either Mike
Bobby
O
did it.
and Bobby, or Bobby and Scott.
You don't think Mike's involved?
No, it's either like I said in my first video. If Mike was at work, then he's off the line. But they didn't investigate him whatsoever, so who really knows?
Yeah.
There wasn't a proper investigation done. Zellner said it multiple times.
Yeah. So this guy is submitting this affidavit under penalty of perjury.
Everybody in the trial perjured themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maggie Hoagland, very good point. But I thought the RAV was brought onto the property on the backside of Avery Salvage Yard near the quarry off of Cuss Road.
That's what Fassbender and Wiegert said to Stephen Avery on the 9th. But then they talked to Brendan in his interview, and Brendan says it went right down the Avery Road, turned right past Ma's, went past Chuck's, and right into where it's found. So who really knows what the truth is? We don't.
Here's something that's kind of laying on my head is, okay, so he says point blank, he saw Bobby. Bobby looked straight into his eyes, wasn't pleased. Now, if Bobby and this other person have already killed one person, what's stopping them from killing this paper boy to cover up?
Exactly. But
Nothing. Yeah, but the fact that they never heard about him again would lead me to believe that perhaps they thought that he never followed up. Right?
Or did Fassbender run interference?
Yeah.
It's just like when Leo R calls and the dispatcher gives the information to Wiegert. Oh, I'm pretty sure that's not the case. Just write it down. I'll look at it later. He's less than a half mile from Leo's house. He's at Avery property.
Yeah. Well, he was on Cuss Road that day when one of the days that Leo called.
Yeah, Wiegert. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Here's food for thought. Could this bearded man just been an innocent bystander helping push the RAV in?
At 3 a.m. in the morning?
Well, we also don't know where it's coming from. It's
Yeah.
just a thought.
Well,
I think somebody else was driving it, the person that was with Bobby, and Bobby was just being a good Samaritan and helping him and said, hey, my family has a salvage yard. If your vehicle's broke down, we'll just push it here and they'll take care of it and fix it for you.
Right.
Could be that. Nice.
Well.
So, I don't know. I don't believe that Zellner would do this unless she some more corroborating evidence. That's just more than this.
T1 is calling us all out.
I just wonder
Oh, yeah.
how long it would take to push the RAV from the turnaround to the Avery property.
What'd you say? It's like 2 miles?
About that. I mean, it.
But so let's suppose for a second that it was drivable, but they just wanted to push it past a certain point because they were afraid that they might wake somebody up.
The only person they would be fear waking up would probably be Ma Avery, because they would have been driving right past her house. Chuck was already gone. Steve
Did they know that though? Did they know that?
I'm pretty sure.
If it was on the 5th, my Avery was in Crivets.
No, they left
She
the morning
left
of
the
the 5th. They left
Oh,
at
that's right.
6:30.
So they took a chance. They took a chance because Stephen wasn't even gone yet. But let's say for a second it was Bobby. Bobby was at Mike O's. He doesn't know who's there and who's not. And he probably doesn't even know who's going to Crivets and who isn't. So for all he knows, Chuck is home. Maybe he does know that it's Chuck's. I guess him and Earl alternated weekends, right? Running the
Yep.
yard.
Yeah, it was Earl's weekend.
Does Bobby know that though? I don't know. I'm not sure why they're pushing the damn RAV. I would drive it with the lights off, you know, and maybe have
What is
somebody-
this shirtless? Why shirtless? I keep seeing a lot of things about shirtless.
But they said Bobby wasn't wearing a shirt.
Yeah.
So
Why
these,
was Bobby-
these are the mailboxes. And over
Yep.
here.
What would the temperature have been on that morning?
It would
He's
have
been
been cool.
pushing
Probably
it
in
for a
the
while.
50s.
He could have been sweated up, needed to cool down.
He's
A lot of
hot
work
enough?
pushing the car. And the other guy was 60. He probably wasn't doing much of the work.
I'm gonna ask Siri
Running the
what the
steering wheel.
temperature was that morning.
Yeah, so I'm not sure why that car's not running. If it were me trying to sneak it in, I'm not sure why I wouldn't try and sneak it in the back, like is suspected. Why would I go down Avery Road? It is dark out. You know, you expect there not to be a lot of traffic, and you know it's hard to identify a car at night anyway. There's a lot of cars that look like a RAV. You know,
When did Bobby get his tattoo?
after the trial.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But quite interesting.
Yep,
So thank you.
we'll
guys.
see.
We'll see you
That was
guys
fun.
on the next live. Earl's interview is coming, you guys. So
Sounds great.
I wonder what he has to say about this.